What's up, Mr. Stark?
Mr. Stark.
Mr. Stark, it smells like a new car in here.
Hey, Mr. Stark, what should I do? Gotta impress Mr. Stark, so...
I mean, what if Mr. Stark needs me or something, or... Mr. Stark? I don't feel so good.
It's 3:35 a.m. I just watched Spider-Man Far From Home, and I feel...
Hello? Hello, Shaun. You must be wondering who I am. Hello? Anyone there? Oh yes, sorry. So basically, I'm a TV producer who works for MUM, and basically we're looking to create a project about teenage superheroes. And I come in how? Essentially, I just joined a nerdy Discord server and you were the first one to answer. And that one means... Alright, so let me just get to the case. I'm basically looking for a handsome nerd such as you to tell me about teenage superheroes. And basically, I'm gonna get all this knowledge in my head here, and basically, you can help me create a new teenage superhero myself. However, this needs to be quick for an average YouTube video, so chop chop. Alright. So let's just get right into the first one, which is... Oh good, I know them. This is gonna be easy. Not really. This is quite a big one, and I'll get right in if I was you, because this is going through several characters first. 7? Yep, 7. Basically, as people as you should know, this was a junior counterpart role given as a sidekick to Batman, and I'll try and go through some of these characters very quickly for you. So the first one is Dick. Ha! Dick. Sorry, carry on. Nice one. Dick Grayson was the first Robin who was first introduced as an 8-year-old acrobat, and was the youngest in a family act named the Flying Graysons. However, a gangster named Boss Zuko was well involved with the circus and ended up killing Grayson's parents. This ended up with Batman investigating the circus, while being Bruce Wayne, putting Dick under his custody. The two then solved the crime and put Zuko to justice. Then from there, Dick became the sidekick Robin, from 1940 to 1966. Also, just don't. Got me. The character then grew up to be a teenager, graduated from high school and enrolled in Hudson University. Then nothing really happened to him until the wonderful 80s. But you said 1969 before. Yeah, well basically DC didn't really do anything with the character until the success of the new Teen Titans, where the character finally dropped the Robin name and became Nightwing. And then eventually, he even got to be Batman himself. But I'll get onto that one later. Oh wow, so who's next? Next is Jason Todd, who was a character that DC was very uncertain to actually make after Nightwing was introduced as a full-on new hero. So essentially they decided to make a new Robin and make him the exact same as Dick Grayson. Yes, the only difference in his origin story was that Killer Croc was the killer of his parents, and with the costume and look he had. He wore his circus costume and had ginger hair originally, until, well, Dick Grayson got involved and all of a sudden he now had black dyed hair, and he also now had an upgraded suit. What the hell's the point in that? Let's just move on. Now, however, after the Crisis of Infinity Earths mini-story in DC Comics, the character was completely changed. The character now was an orphan who attempted to steal tires from the Batmobile and then helped Batman catch some robbers. He ended up basically becoming the new Robin from that. But this just wasn't enough for DC, who felt readers couldn't really connect with the character they literally made to be too much like Dick Grayson, and literally made viewers and readers of the comics vote whether they should kill him or not. Come on, the readers won't kill a kid. Ha! You're wrong there, because the readers actually were kind of divided, but still, most of them voted for killing the character to see whether DC would actually do it, and well, they ultimately did. Jesus. Don't worry though, DC actually did return the character years later as the new Red Hood character, and pretty much this is a new reinvention and makes him way different than Dick Grayson, and it's really cool because characters now get to love this unique version of the character. So how did they even attempt to even replace him? Well, behind the scenes, it was still quite evident that DC didn't really want a new Robin at all, And, well, even the 1989 movie that released with Batman didn't have a Robin in it, so there was no indication for DC to even go with a new Robin. But that didn't stop Danny O'Neill, the editor in the Batman comics around that time, and he created the brand new Robin named Timothy Drake. Who, the rapper? Really, dude? We're not in 2016. Anyways, this Robin's actually my favourite out of all of them. This is because he's very unique with him being a fan of Batman himself for years, to the point where he was even a fan when Dick Grayson lost his parents. This was very used as a way to connect the original character behind the scenes for DC. Tim overall was very smart and actually figured out who his idol was, and this impressed the hero and well ultimately made him the new Robin. Yes, he was not very a good fighter since he was literally a teenager / kid, but still, he was so smart that even Bruce Wayne thought that he could be more intelligent than him one day. The character was that very much trusted by DC that he even got to make his own comic book series and even co-founded the superhero team named the Young Justice. However, he would then regroup with the Teen Titans after events with the Young Justice. Now, let's talk about Damian Wayne. But what about Tim? Don't worry, I'll get back to him eventually. So in this story, Bruce Wayne finds out that from an affair he had with Talia al Ghul, one of his villains, that he actually now has an assassin's son named Damian Wayne. And well, he was raised by ninjas, he was very undisciplined, and yada yada yada. They just didn't have a good relationship at all. However, Bruce did realise what the real intentions of Damian's birth was, to actually kill him and involve him with his grandfather and all that comic book stuff, and Bruce got to save his child, and his child was very grateful for that. But then, Bruce died. Wait, this is so weird, how can they kill him off now? Is Damian even Robin yet? No, he's not Robin yet. Basically, in a miniseries where Bruce dies, Dick Grayson gets to take on the mantle as the Batman and also takes Damian in his custody with Alfred Pennyworth. And basically after that, Alfred decides to actually make Damian a Robin himself. And his first mission was to actually save Tim Drake. And once he saved Tim Drake, it was up to Dick Grayson who would be Robin. And essentially his ultimate decision was to make Damian Robin to his Batman and to make Tim Drake a brand new superhero named Red Robin. Eventually, DC even retconned it so Tim was always named Red Robin. That's so awesome. But wait, that's only 4 of them, dude. Yeah, well, I did talk about 4 out of the 7, but they're the main ones that have kind of been in media over the years, so I thought that would just be good enough to you. But let's just move on to another character named... This is once again a mantle given to 3 superheroes. Oh no. Don't worry, I'll go through this one quickly this time. Essentially, DC Comics now owns the name Blue Beetle, and the latest Blue Beetle in DC Comics is actually getting his own HBO Max series soon. But before I get into that character, let's go through the first Blue Beetle named Dan Guy, who was originally made by Fox Comics, who owns the film company, Guy. This character used a high-tech suit to give him abilities such as super strength until Charlton Comics, who eventually owned the character, gave him a mystical scarab, and the character was then reimagined thanks to the inspiration from Watchmen comics. However, Guy eventually passed the mantle on to Ted Kord, who also seemed to have been heavily inspired by Watchmen, since well, him and Night Owl are almost the same, with both being inventors who took on the role of crime fighting. Oh, they both also have cartoonish airships. So you're just saying to rip off Night Owl? Oh, hell no. Yeah, the character got that popular that DC Comics eventually put him in the main timeline, but they ultimately killed him off to now make Jamie Reyes, who actually found the scarab himself and bonded with it. This character is very cool and is a Mexican teenager who now has taken this street level crime fighting hero to now being a hero in space. Nice, so when is... Right now, so let's go through more details about the most famous superhero in media. So Spider-Man, otherwise known as Peter Parker, is an orphan who was raised in New York City by his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. One day he was bitten by a radioactive spider, and from this he got the powers of climbing walls, having super strength, and having a spider sense which detects danger. And he also eventually made his own web shooters. Yeah, I saw the movies. Anyways, back in 1962 when Stan Lee created the Fantastic Four, he's thinking about another character to create for Marvel Comics. And this is where he found out that there wasn't that many teenage superheroes at the time, and this is where he wanted to create his own. However, this is where things get a little bit messy.
In what way?
Well, in some media it states that he was inspired by the character named the Spider, and in other media it says that Stan got the idea from seeing a spider cross his room. And this has got to the point where Stan in his old age couldn't really remember where the inspiration came from ultimately. But they're the two ones that we know are definitely either way. However, now you must be wondering, how comes they never called him something like Spider-Boy since he's a teenager? Well, this was essentially because Stan wanted the character to actually grow up with the readers, and, well, making a character that would grow into a man being called Spider-Boy still would be very awkward. And, well, you must be also wondering why he's got a hyphen in his name as well. This is to actually get him away from the character Superman from DC. Both begin with an S and end with man, so basically to separate this, Stan put a hyphen between Spider-Man, so it'll be a clear thing with people who can struggle with reading. However, even though this is the most popular superhero of all time, there's still struggles of getting him to actually be printed and be an actual character. This is mostly due to disagreements between Stan Lee and Martin Goodman, who was the runner of Marvel Comics at the time. This overall comes from him not believing that teenagers could be their own superheroes, but eventually he did give in and let Stan put him in the Amazing Fantasy storyline, which is Amazing Fantasy number 15, and well, obviously he was a massive success.
Now look at all these Blu-rays starring the character.
Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Anyways, let's move on to Miles Morales. He was created all the way back in 2011, and was created to replace the Ultimate Spider-Man after his death.
Wait, so the Ultimate Universe?
Yeah, essentially this was a secondary universe in the Marvel Comics where they just wanted to do different types of stories and reinventions for the characters at the time. And well, they decided to kill Peter Parker off in this universe and replace him with Miles Morales, a biracial teenager who has a black American father and a Puerto Rico mother. And overall, he's been that popular that in 2015, when they decided to close the Ultimate Comic Universe, they actually made him into the main Marvel timeline. And he's now been in the 2 Disney cartoons, he's now got his own movie in Spider-Verse, and he even got his own game lately.
Oh wow, so why did they even want to create this character?
Well, a black Spider-Man was kind of always thought of, even to the point where it was around the 2008 election with Barack Obama. But nothing really happened until they needed to replace Ultimate Spider-Man. And the reason why specifically Brian Michael Bendis, the creator of Miles Morales, wanted to do this was from the Community Season 2 premiere featuring Donald Glover wearing Spider-Man pyjamas. This episode even made campaigns happen where people wanted Donald Glover to actually play Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012. And well, all this fan art and all this type of stuff made Brian very, very more confident in creating the character. And well, he's now the character we know today. And well, to the point where even this Community clip has been featured in the background of a TV in Spider-Verse, and Donald Glover even got to play Miles Morales' uncle in the MCU, even teasing that Miles Morales might be in the MCU himself one day.
Wow, so are there any other heroes like Miles?
A matter of fact, yes, and that character is who's created in the 90s. But the character was created by Milestone Comics for DC Comics themselves. The character in fact was meant to be originally created for Marvel, but things went to DC ultimately, who wanted a superhero who could compete with Spider-Man. The character is also named after Virgil D. Hawkins, who was a black man who was denied entrance to University of Florida due to his race in 1949.
Nice, but I'm thinking, where have I actually heard the name Static before?
Maybe from the 2000s cartoon that starred the character, or maybe the news with Michael B. Jordan creating a film based on the character?
Nah, it's the James Brown song. It really makes me feel...
Which is actually the name of our next hero.
Wow, what a coincidence.
It's almost like this is scripted. Anyways, Invincible, also known as Mark Grayson, is a superhero in the Image universe. The character is overall the son of the extraterrestrial superhero in this universe named Omni-Man. He then inherited his father's powers and swore to protect Earth.
Wait, are you talking about the Amazon show?
Yes, this is the comic that actually was adapted to be into that show. Robert Kirkman, the creator of the comic, put a lot of work into this show as well, even writing the first season's pilot and the first season's finale. Seth Rogen, who voiced the character in the show, was also developing a movie based on the character. Nice. Can we talk about cartoons a little bit more? Because I honestly love cartoons and there's gotta be one more from them, right? Yes, actually, one of my favourites. Come on man, I grew up in the 2000s, I got this one. Danny Fenton was an introverted, shy 14-year-old boy who one day went into his parents' ghost-like experiment, and basically he came out as a human/ghost hybrid. And well, the rest is history, and now he's a superhero. Well done, I'm really impressed, but I'll take it back over from here. Essentially in the 2000s, Nickelodeon was creating a brand new boys action show, and Butch Hartman, who was moving his mother back down near to him, was thinking of ways he could actually make this cartoon for them. And well, while he was driving, he was thinking of names to come up with first, since he grew up with cartoons such as Johnny Quest. And well, he eventually landed on the name Danny Phantom. And then this came up with ideas of maybe this could be Danny work with his friends to solve ultimate ghost stories, all that stuff, but then he realised that's just Scooby-Doo, let's scrap it. Next he came up with maybe Danny could have an owl who would be his pet, but then Harry Potter movies was released around the early 2000s and his friends were just like, yeah, that kind of just reminds me of Harry Potter. And then eventually he finally came up with the idea of making a ghost/human hybrid character named Danny Phantom. Eventually, when he went to dinner with a Nickelodeon exec, they asked him if he had any other ideas, and he pitched the idea to them, and the rest is history. Shame they cancelled it though, because it would have been...
Wait, that's also a film and an attempt of a sequel.
Yep, they are, and they're actually based on a comic book series. This series follows Dave Lazuski, a 16-year-old high school student who decides one day he's going to become a superhero with no training whatsoever. But hey, he got a wetsuit from eBay, right? However, he learned this was stupid in the worst way possible, by getting stabbed by graffiti artists and literally getting ran over by a random pedestrian.
What a dumbass.
However, since this was a comic book, he got metal plates in his head from surgery and got severe nerve damage. And then he went out to stop crime once again. This time the hero stopped some thugs who attacked a guy, and while he somewhat wins, another guy records him and basically uploads the video to YouTube, where people give him the name Kick-Ass. Mark Miller, who based the character on his worst aspects from his teen years, where the guy actually went to karate training and went bodybuilding, but only gave up his stupid dream of wanting to become a superhero, and then made Dave when he was older.
Nice, so I think I actually have time for one more character.
Oh nice, well let's actually go through. Well, is obviously from Marvel Comics themselves, and this is the first Muslim character to headline in their very own comic book series. She has shape-shifting abilities that she got from something named the Inhuman genes. The character is also ready for her first MCU debut with her own Disney Plus show after just filming it, and she's ready to appear in the 2022 Captain Marvel sequel named The Marvels. The character was also the main character in the 2020 Avengers video game.
Oh wow, I love that. Why do you think Marvel have pushed her so much lately?
Because, well, she's pretty damn unique. Because Marvel at the time only trusted characters such as the Avengers, the X-Men, Peter Parker, and, well, even the Inhumans, because they were creating a show about them around that time. Sure, the X-Men had some culturally diverse characters and Miles Morales existed, but this just wasn't enough since the X-Men members were minor characters and Miles Morales wasn't on the same level as Peter around then. So Miss Marvel really came at the right time. So have you learned anything from this?
Well yes, I have learned that my characters shouldn't really copy too much from previous heroes. They should be their own person. There should be a character teenagers who can relate to and grow up with. We shouldn't have always followed their leaders, orders, and believe in what they believe in themselves. We can always choose to do what they believe in, and to even show this, I should bring my own experiences in life to my character.
Very good. Now let's move on to the outro.